Meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Abraham?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
Eurig?
Yes.
And Kish is here. I have the regular meeting minutes of the Amherst Township Trustees, December 10th, 2024 meeting. The meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. by Lynch with pledge to the flag. Roll call, Abraham, Lynch, Eurig, Kish were present. Additional attendees, Case Marsh, G. Lynch, L. Ashley, C. Neihart, and M. Orozco. 12-1-24, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Eurig, to approve the November 26, 2024 regular meeting minutes as corrected. All ayes. 12-2-24, motion by Lynch, seconded by Eurig, move to approve the financial reports and payment of items on the payment listing as presented and with reservations. All ayes. The fiscal officer reported that a full audit is still ongoing. The 2022-2023 audit will not be completed until 2025 first quarter. Stated auditors didn't contact us till mid-October, and field work just started on 11/26/24. Due to school audits requiring a stricter timeline, we got bumped. Based on my availability and the auditor's availability in mid-January 2025, we will continue at that time. Also, the 2025 temporary appropriations will be ready for the December 17th, 2025 organizational meeting. There were no audience concerns. Under correspondence, the county recorder, Mike Duran, will be attending the April 8th, 2025 meeting. Update on House Bill 47, automated external defibrillator requirements effective 10/24/24. There is no update. Township Administrator is working with OTARMA and also waiting to see if any updates on the legislation. Contact your local representatives regarding passing House Bill 315, allowing townships to post public hearings, meetings, financials, etc. at the Township Hall and on our website versus publishing in local newspaper. This would save significant dollars, roughly $1,000 a year. Lorraine County Township Association Christmas meeting at Camden Township on December 19th, 2024. Get your reservations in. Under reports, under ambulance, the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District Quarterly Meeting will be held on Thursday, February 13th, 2025 at 11 a.m. at the Amherst Fire Station. Under zoning, Zoning Inspector Sam D'Ambrosio was not in attendance. Trustee Lynch reported the following for zoning. There are two meetings scheduled for December 11th at 6 p.m. for conditional use hearing regarding the AEVSD bus garage, and December 18th BZA meeting for an area variance for 3244 Sandstone Mill Run, Lot 30. Homeowner wants Ryan Homes to construct a single-level ranch home with a rear covered porch facing the wooded conserved area. BZA organizational meeting scheduled for January 8th, 2025 at 6 p.m. The Zoning Commission will hold their organizational meeting on January 7th, 2025. There have been 40 new homes constructed in 2024 year-to-date. Fire inspector had no report. Under roads, parks, and cemeteries, Superintendent Smarsh reported being finished with leaf cleanup, ditch repairs, and a couple of catch basin repairs. Getting an estimate on yard waste grinding. Handled the first snowstorm with no problems. Ready for the next one. New dump trucks build date will be in December with delivery early 2025. Township Administrator working on finishing up items for 2024 and getting ready for 2025. Trying to work on a network system between her office and the zoning office. Early stages of exploring credit cards being accepted for payments. Complaints are being handled by the designated individual. And under old business, Trustee Eurig noted that if a resident wants to report a street light out, it is better for them to call Ohio Edison directly due to the information that Ohio Edison needs to locate the light versus calling one of the trustees. Under new business, the 2025 organizational meeting will be on December 17th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. There will also be a Records Commission meeting at 6:30 p.m. prior to the 2025 organizational meeting. The December 24th regular meeting is canceled. 12/3/24, motion by Abraham, seconded by Eurig to adjourn at 7:35 p.m. All ayes.
Thanks, Chris. Are there any changes or corrections to the December 10th, 2024 meeting minutes?
I have none. I would make a motion that we accept them. It says read.
I will second the motion.
Eurig?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
And that is 12-4 to start us off.
12-4. Good. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, then your financials. Had several things come in, of course, over the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't have my payment listing. You should have your payment
You need
listing in your
mine?
packets.
Want to borrow mine, Chris?
Well, I just wanted to see if there was anything. Oh, maybe it's here. I got it. Our workers' compensation premium was paid. Everything else is pretty much taxes. That's it, unless you have some questions.
What did we get in the general fund for 52,000?
I don't know where you're at, David.
I'm just
Looking
looking
at
at
the
our
payments.
revenues for the year, or for the month.
Biggest thing was the license and permits and fees.
Okay. All right.
You know, that's the roughly 40,000 of it, David.
Well, our year-to-date revenue is $1,876,730.34, and our year-to-date expenditures is $1,307,948.53. And I just have, I'm sure there's just going to be some that I can think of, Delta Dental, Vision, things that come in towards the end of the year.
It's nice we're a hair over on the budget variance, which is always nice to see versus being under. Again, that's overall between all the funds. Are there any other questions on the financials? Hearing none then, I'm going to make a motion that the financial statements, bills, and have been reviewed and to approve with reservation.
I'll second that motion.
Lynch?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
12-5.
Yep. Then you have the credit card statement review. Everything has a receipt.
Make a motion that the credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and the card statement is accepted as presented, subject to reservation.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
12-6.
Yes.
Let me just get organized here, Chris. The board meeting has way too many papers. This was one I wanted, but I'm going to have to let this one go. One of our commissioners, because there were multiple Amherst Township things on the agenda. And
Yes, there were.
I tried reaching him beforehand. He said he'd call me later. Okay, in your packet, there is a prepared resolution. This is for the temporary annual appropriation measure for calendar year 2025 per Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.38. Chris had sent information out to us earlier, expected there to be some adjustments, and there were, but relatively minor. The biggest thing was including some of the public works funds in here, and some adjustments in the street. So again, this is temporary, will take us through March 31st. Give her a chance to see what our final carryover is going to be at the end of the year. I've included in there as the attachment is what we were in 2024. Hopefully you had a chance to review this earlier so you can see where the changes were between 2024 and 2025. Obviously, the biggest allocations, as is typical, are roads. Next is the fire and EMS. The others are pretty much smaller funds, and as we're aware, David, unless you've heard anything differently, as far as solid waste, there's no longer any funding being provided from solid waste.
No.
disappointing because I remember the times when that was $70,000 a year. Now it's zero. You know, but those are the things we got to get used to, just like the local government fund being cut in half. So, but I don't know if you have any particular questions here. Chris, you know, based on the past, as she's indicated, expected, which, you know, is a relative guess early on, of a wage increase. As far as personnel cost of 3%, you know, we had in there, as far as minor, we tried to look at what the larger ones were when we had last reviewed 2025, and that was the computers and software for the offices of $5,000. They asked for a slight increase in office supplies of $200. That's not that big of a deal. The truck that, the plow truck that'll be coming in that we decided to take on a lease purchase, roughly $37,000 a year, which the first payment due upon delivery, so that will be first, you know, right at the beginning of 2025. The stormwater grants, we got a match. Hopefully those jobs can get through this year, but they were still waiting on those easements. And then the extra money for the concrete work, and continuing with roughly the $55,000 annual cost that we now have for ambulance, and that carries us through for another 2 years. But those are probably the major, quote, out of the ordinary. The rest is pretty much assuming a standard increase in 2025 over what 2024 was. Okay. So if there's no questions, I'm going to make a motion to adopt the temporary annual appropriation measure for 2025 for Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.38.
A second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
That's 12-7, Chris?
It is, yes.
Okay, as far as correspondence, Chris, do you
I have
have
none.
anything? David?
I have nothing to bring forward at this time.
Okay. Denny?
Nothing.
I do have, and the elected officials all got one. This wasn't included in your packet because it just must have come in this afternoon. There was a document sent from the Lorraine County. This one is in regards to the subdivision that Dave Kohler has proposed at the, this would be on the east side of Oberlin Road, south of State Route 113. There is a meeting scheduled for Tuesday, January 21st. This says 2024, that's got to be 2025, that has to be a mistake. At 2 o'clock in the Commissioners' Meeting Room A, located on the 4th floor of the County Administration Building. Please plan to have a representative from the trustees present at the meeting. You're all welcome to attend. I just checked my schedule here, and I'm able to make that. I haven't added it to my schedule yet, but I certainly will after this meeting.
Whose meeting is that? Is that the planning commission or is that the commissioners?
All I can tell you is exactly what I read here, David. As I said, this just came in today. I picked it up before the meeting. I ran copies for you, and I put it in front of you, so you can read it as well as I can.
Oh, okay, okay, so they're in front of me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's why I said I wasn't able to get in everyone's packet, but I put one for every elected official. Okay? So just mark your schedule if you want to attend.
Oh, subdivision review subcommittee.
But
Okay.
you will attend, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just checked my schedule, and I'm able to attend. Right, so we'll move on. The chair is open for nominations.
I move we keep Neil as chair.
I second it.
Euring,
Yes.
Abraham,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes. I'll make a motion that David Urich is the vice chair.
Second.
Lynch,
Yes,
Euring,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
that's 12-9, Chris,
Yes.
so I can
Yep.
keep up here. Okay, and as far as the assignments, they're pretty close to what you've had before. I'd say the biggest change there is I actually should have put another one here, is I've shown that the ambulance moved from Denny to me. I should have on there, Chris, for David. He's an alternate on the Sandstone Joint Ambulance Board, because when we had changed the bylaws, one, they increased the amount of members, and we've got myself, Dave Freeman, and Melissa Gilker as the Amherst Township representatives, and David as an alternate. You can actually have multiple alternates, but between the four of us, we should be able to get enough there so that they have a quorum. And the same for the village of South Amherst and the city of Amherst. They each get 3 representatives with the potential for alternates. So the only change on there will be show David as an alternate on the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District Board.
You also have under yourself the Lorraine County Community Alliance rep. There's no.
They're gone now,
Yep.
yes, we can cross that off.
See, one thing off your list.
Yes. Okay, and for the Ohio Public Works is to designate the chairman as a signer for Ohio Public Works for 2025 with David Urich and Denny Abraham as alternates.
Second.
Lynch,
Yes.
Euring,
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
That's 12.
10. That's what I
Okay, I don't think there's any need for an executive session since we had one a couple meetings back to discuss any adjustments in employees and wages and promotions and all that. So we can just cross that off then, Chris?
Yep.
Cross off the next one too, so it's not going back. Okay. For the wages, there's multiple documents in here to review. The first one, if you see, you've got a spreadsheet there which shows any adjustments in the different wage classes from 2002 through 2025. So we've now got 24 years worth of history here. This shows the past wage increases, which varied anywhere from 0% at the low to the highest was actually in 2023 when we had the high inflation. There was a 7.1% wage increase in 2023. But for the most part, they've been under 3%. As you can see, there's quite a few in there that were just under 2%. 0% being the lowest when we were in one of the recessions there. The health care for this year, you've got a spreadsheet here that shows what the cost is for single and family plans. That's on a spreadsheet from the county. A single plan is $1,156 and some cents, and a family plan is $2,900 and some cents. That's actually an 8.7% increase in 2025 for 2024. Obviously, there's a limited number eligible for health care, so that doesn't affect all township employees. We've got the employee contribution, which we have going up based on the Consumer Price Index, will increase to $155.15 per month, and the for a family plan, and $77.58 for a single plan. And that's really, to look at it, roughly 5.4% of the total cost. Social Security, and you do have the printout here from Social Security. For a benchmark, that's up 2.5%. And that's based on the average of the previous 3 quarters in 2024. Over the past 10 years, Social Security's averaged a 2.6% increase, and in 2024, they were at 3.2%. If you just flip that page from Social Security, you can see the Bureau of Labor Statistics information through November of 2024, which is the most current news release put out by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And over the last 12 months, for all items in the Consumer Price Index is an increase of 2.7% for the last 12 months. If you deduct the food and energy, which tend to be the most volatile components within that basket of goods, the actual last 12 months for the more, what you would consider the core Consumer Price Index, is 3.3%. If you look at the line chart that's on page 2 of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you can see they chart both all items and then also all items less food and energy. And you can see just in looking at this that the all items one tends to be more stable there versus the when you include the food and energy, which again adds some volatility. You also have in here for 2 comparisons of neighboring communities. City of Amherst in 2025 will receive a 3.5% increase, and for the City of Avon is a 4% increase. I know that at the last meeting, the only thing that's been added was the most current Bureau of Labor Statistics information, because during that executive session, as I explained, that wouldn't come until the middle of December, and then also the information for Avon for another comparison. And the proposal here for the increase, which keeps with what the budget is, was a 3% increase across the board for all the wage classes. There'll also be 3%, but this one that doesn't fit in one of the standard wage classes, we have the employee that's considered an as-needed, part-time, seasonal type worker, and that one will go up to $21.78, and that's in your department, Kevin. If I don't know, I'm just going to open it to questions, because there is going to be another change for the part-time seasonal employee that we'll cover in a minute. That was brought up in executive session, but I formalized it in a resolution. So is there any concern with the 3% increase?
No, I think,
That's
No,
kind of
I
what
think
we're
it's
talking
reasonable
about.
and fair, and
No concern whatsoever.
Okay, and
Do you have any concerns, Kat?
Now, we'll talk about that one, which comes separate. So really where this has, for the wage rate in K2, is I'll make a motion that the hourly rate for employees will be the following classes that are on the spreadsheet, which is going to be across the board 3% increase. So that'll be my motion.
second. Any second.
I'll second it.
Where are we at here?
So that's K2, David, because we crossed out
Yeah.
the others.
Lynch?
Yes,
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
and that's 1211.
Yes,
Chris?
it is.
Now that takes care of the wage classes on there, but there was discussion here. Kevin had brought up, he's had, and it's actually Daryl, that's been working now since April of 2022 to fill in with the road department, and obviously they're getting more work, and you're going to see even continued work with the added developments coming in here. And Kevin had just asked for, as opposed to any change in wage class, and it's really pretty reasonable what we've got here. is there any way that Daryl could get some time off, paid time off, which we call the PTO, because the way our policy is written, he's not eligible for that. And for the individuals that are eligible, they earn 2 hours per month up to 24 hours in a year. And they're able to, was it 2 days you can, 16 hours to carry over?
24, I think.
24? Okay. So they can carry, I'd have to look, we'll go over the policy here in a minute. I wanted to grab the book we had down here, but obviously Georgianne's got that for changes we'll be discussing here shortly. But the 24 hours they can carry over. The way I've written this, Kevin, is there's no carryover, though, for Daryl. Again, being, you know, it's, you guys have what his total hours are, which I think are, it's a $21.78 an hour, 110 hours per month, which is average about 25 hours a week, and you know the times when he takes off. So instead of having a carryover, all this does is Daryl's, for all the items that are listed in the policy, whether it's jury duty, illness, really wants to take time off in the summer, you know, a family matter, is that right now he's only paid when he's at work. And so this would give him the opportunity to have some pay where something comes up and all of a sudden he's off of work, of a total of 16 hours. Similar to the policy, it has in here that you can't claim any more than 8 hours on your timesheet, and it's got to be clearly marked on the timesheet, which gets reviewed here for payroll. And I hope, Chris, I intended on contacting you earlier. I know there were some difficulties here of how to put this into the UAN system. Well, the way this is written, those 16 hours would be effective immediately there in January. You know, that's looking at the easiest for you versus trying to accumulate it with somebody that may not be here every single pay period. So I think this covered everything we discussed in there, you know, and Kevin, I know he didn't have a whole lot of time to look at this, and we didn't get to discuss actually on hours, but this is like 2/3 of what an employee that's working throughout the year would earn, which, you know, seems relatively fair, okay, when you look at how many hours he's actually working. And that should be additional incentive to continue doing what he's doing, because I'm sure you know to try and get somebody to do what he's doing at this rate isn't going to be real easy. Okay? So that's the motion I'm going to make.
This is 12/12.
Well, 12/12 should be L. Not,
Well, this is an addition.
Yeah, you're right. It'd be 12/12. Or no.
no,
No,
12/12
I'm
should
sorry.
be Kevin.
Right. That's going to be Kevin.
Oh, okay.
If you want,
So this
David,
is going to be,
I'll
this
tell
is
you
going to
what.
be that one.
With that, we'll hold this one then. You're right. I just wanted to
Alright.
discuss it because I had it marked on since Daryl doesn't fit in a wage class and is a special, just an hourly wage per person, that's on the spreadsheet. But we'll hold off on this and go through the rest of the agenda. So the next one, L, is I'll make a motion to appoint Kevin Smarsh as the road superintendent to be compensated at wage class A.
Second,
Lynch,
Yes,
Euring,
yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
and that'll be 12/12.
Correct.
And then I'll make a motion to appoint Russell Rittenauer to the road crew to be compensated at wage class A2.
Second,
Lynch,
Yes,
Euring,
yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
that's 12/13. Okay, and now for the road crew, part-time position is to appoint to the road crew position Daryl Saladin to be compensated at wage class 21.78 an hour and 16 hours of PTO.
Okay, any second? Okay, Denny, second on that. And this is the resolution in front of us.
Yes, so that's why it's marked C addendum on your schedule there, and that makes it easier for Chris when she does the minutes. And roll call?
Lynch.
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
Euring.
Yes.
So the one for Darrell, that's 1214, right,
Correct.
Chris? Okay, I'll make the motion to appoint Chris Nyhart as Fire Prevention Officer to be compensated and reappointed and succeeded as indicated in the agreement with the City of Amherst Township Resolution Number 10/6/19. Essentially, what's going to happen is in 2025, Chris's rate will be $32.56 per hour and $25 per call for the truck.
Second.
Lynch.
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
Yes.
Euring.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
1215.
You can second the next few, David.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Whoops, I can't make this one.
I'll move to appoint Georgianne Lynch as Township Administrative Assistant and Media Technology Operator to be compensated at wage class B1 up to 20 hours per week.
I second that motion.
Euring.
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
Lynch.
Abstain. And Chris, that number is 1216?
Correct.
I'll make the motion to appoint Sam D'Ambrosio as a Township Zoning Inspector to be compensated at wage class B up to 20 hours per week.
Second.
Lynch.
Yes.
Euring.
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
17. And this one also, the next one has an attachment here. I'll make a motion to appoint Lonnie Dillon to the Zoning Commission for a 5-year term, beginning on January 1st, 2025, and then see addendum.
Let me find where the resolution is. Where's the resolution?
Are you seconded, David?
I'll second it. I'm just trying to find the resolution. It's in the packet here. I saw it.
It's in there.
Now I can't see it. There it is. There it is. Where are we at here? 12/7, 12/18.
1218.
1218. Lynch.
Okay.
Yes.
Euring.
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
Okay, hold on a second.
What motion is that?
1218-24.
12/18/24. And that is for Lonnie Dillon.
Yes. Okay, now I'm going to make a motion to appoint Steve Osterlenke to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 5-year term beginning on January 1st, 2025, and also see addendum.
Second.
Lynch.
Yes.
Euring.
Yes.
Abraham.
Yes.
Second to catch up.
David. Ready to go? or-
Almost. Where else are we?
All right, word T as in Tom. I'll make a motion to appoint Linda Ashley as the Amherst Township Administrator and Director of Senior Services Office to be compensated at wage class A2, not to exceed 29 hours per week, and an additional 16 hours of paid personal time off above the personnel policy allowance to be used in 2025.
Second?
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes. And that was 2020?
1220.
1220.
Should we have something in there about her being the dead mother?
I'll make a motion to appoint Morgan Orozco as a part-time seasonal administrative assistant 2 and media assistant of Amherst Township, be compensated at wage class D on an as-required basis to assist the township administrator and operate technology during meetings and public hearings and storing electronic records.
Second?
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
1221. I'll make a motion then to continue the agreement with the Ohio Public Employees Deferred Compensation, establishing a deferred compensation benefit program for Amherst Township employees. And it does show, and that's in the policy, that in 2023 we increased the match from $100 to $150 per month.
Second?
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to read everything here on the health insurance for elected officials, but essentially when you look at this, we started in 2007 as a base rate. At that time, it would cost $50 per month for single, $100 per month for family coverage, and I've already mentioned what that's going to increase to. And what we did at that time, because there was a challenge at one time when people started paying a portion of their health care that for elected officials, that we were impacting their compensation. So at that time, we worked out with the prosecutor, as long as we put some sort of index or some sort of method, if we had it where it automatically occurs, versus us making an independent decision on each year, that would suffice, and you're not really changing their compensation. So the one we're using here is the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. And I'd have to go back to that. Do you guys need to hear what the pay is again?
No.
Okay. Well, basically it's per that on that spreadsheet, and Chris has got that, so she'll actually be deducting that from people, whether you call a single plan or a family plan. So I'll make that motion.
Second?
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
That's 1223. And this is the same thing. I'll make the motion without reading all this verbiage for the health care for full-time employees.
Second?
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
1224. Close to Christmas. Okay, I'll make a motion that secretarial services for the zoning boards will be paid at the Class B1 rate.
Second?
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to continue the relationship with the Ohio Township Association of Risk Management Authority Insurance Pool.
Second?
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
1226. And there's really for BB, the zoning resolution revision review. Georgianne, you'll do that with people's books later if you haven't updated them already?
Yes, they're not updated, and we'll be getting new books next year sometime.
Okay, and that's where the trustees, if you recall, we went through a mass update on all of those. So she'll be going around individually to those that have the paper copies. Okay, update the elected officials, hired employees, and appointed official directory. You'll take care of that also, Georgianne?
Yes, I will.
The township website domain name review. I know, Chris, you already did that, so that somebody doesn't conscript the township name for various reasons. Okay, and then the review of training requirements. Some of this is because there's been obviously training added. We're all aware of the National Incident Management System. Most of that one's almost like a report card. It's not like they're forcing us to do it each year in that training, but all the elected officials were required to complete the IS 700 training. As was the road superintendent and the senior service office director, township administrator. The policy manual review training inclusive of the records policy. And I know Chris has discussed during our records commission meeting, there may be some changes there. And Linda, between you, Chris, Georgianne, Morgan, we're going to have to work on that. I think the only thing we've got is we're making some updates in the schedule of the records retention, and the same as the forms as when you're destroying records, we're going to have to send that down to the state. Does that one also go to the historical heritage group?
I'm not sure. I think that might just be for when you're destroying records.
Okay.
Because they want to decide if they want them.
But we'll go ahead and get that taken care of. And Georgianne will probably she'll usually just send out that email for most of you, get a electronic copy, and it's recommended you create a special folder. There will be the paper copy down here at the Township Hall. Kevin, you'll have one in your area. Probably the biggest change in there is the new Auditor of State fraud training and reporting. In the past, the policy was just that you had to be aware of fraud reporting. Well, now the Auditor of State requires formal training, and for the elected officials, we're going to have to be doing this every 4 years, and who knows what they'll tighten this up to. But we created a separate policy in there now, or had to adjust the policy to explain that you have to take the online training that's offered, you have to get the certificate. Think of it like an affidavit swearing you did actually watch it, and then Chris will maintain those records as she took care of all of that for us already. Phase 2 stormwater management training. Kevin, I think you guys went to that this year in Oberlin already, correct?
Yeah, and today we went to MS4
Okay.
training today.
I was surprised when they put that out and how short notice and the location. Usually the county does one for us, and then we also, sometimes we get 2 in a year, because we've also had jointly with Lorraine County Township Association, usually someone from the EPA comes in to discuss if there's going to be any changes or what they've seen or where they think people need to maybe buck up and get a little bit, more assertive. But those are probably, as far as the training that is specifically sites we must do. Obviously there's a lot more training that people need here, and Amherst Township and all of Lorraine County Townships, in addition to Homestead Township, which is part of Lorraine County Township Association, signed up for the online training that the OTA provides, and fortunately that gave us that $75 discount. And I know people have been taking that training. The most recent, a group one, since, we pay a cost. Well, the last one we had the BZA people come in so they could just watch it on the screen. Since they don't all have a sign-on that we do as, quote, members of the association. But, if they're watching over the shoulder, they need that training also. And then the prosecutor, every 2 years, generally puts on the training for holding of public meetings, records, management, and zoning. This past year in 2024, they did one for the zoning board, so the Board of Zoning Appeal and Zoning Commission. Then they did a separate one more for elected officials and fiscal officers, only because those meetings were getting kind of long in the training and some are more applicable to others. So that's it on training. This is just something that's a backup because even with the Auditor of State, stormwater, they always want to know, well, how do you follow up? How do you make sure this happened? Well, we decided we're going to put it in our board meeting, and hopefully that carries over even beyond these elected officials when somebody new comes in. Because anyone coming in new, it can seem overwhelming when they get started. So if nothing, this will at least give them some, hey, they better go check on this. FF, there's no change in the suitability and adequacy of our affirmative action policy. With the changeover at the federal level, it appears we won't have to change it now, but obviously you never know because that really comes down predominantly at the federal level in our policy. And I know there was some discussion about changes, making it more inclusive, but you can see now with the current the incoming administration, I don't expect there to be any changes in that particular policy. And where we get that request for is sometimes on some grant application. So that's why and it's a good thing to have in your policy anyway. Okay, the next one, GG. Georgianne, are you going to cover the policy manual review?
I can, but I can't operate the TV screen and be out there, so.
Okay, well, let's go over what's on the television screen. Let's see, I've got to get this down because this is going to be part of the policy manual review. Can you make that larger for a portion at all?
Yep.
Because I didn't run copies of this for people. I've got one here. And what I can read here, this is, Linda put together this spreadsheet for site plan reviews, and I know Georgianne's done this similar in the past for our people requiring zoning amendments and variances, because sometimes it gets questioned why it costs so much, and it is costly. But we only try to recover our costs. There's not anything on here that, we're trying to use this as a revenue source. And what you've got here is a comparison of site plan reviews in 2024 versus what will be in 2025. And if I back up a little bit, in 2023 for site plan review, we had a fee of $500, and we'd occasionally increase that based on a benchmark, usually consumer price index, but there were some years we'd skip it. And the issue came up where Linda pointed out, hey, we're actually losing money on these things, and particularly when you see the fees come in for your architect costs, your fire prevention officer costs, and if we have all 7 zoning board members show up at a meeting, and then also that we're required to publish it, hopefully that's something that we can get away with. Use an average of 10 mailers that we got to send out to people, because obviously that can vary all over the place. This last one with the schools, I'm not sure what that final count was, but that was much more than 10.
It was over 50.
Over, yeah. So that's a cost the township pays. So in 2024, we found out our actual cost, the best estimate, was $851. So essentially we're losing $350. So we went ahead and increased that for 2024. Well, now we come to 2025, and I know postal costs are going to go up, but we use those forever stamps. I don't know how many more we have. But we've got with a 3% increase in wages, and then we're also going to propose that in the policy manual, the wage increase for the zoning board members is our cost will actually be $876.92. What Linda was showing, if we didn't increase the cost, we would be actually losing just under $7, $6.92 in 2025. But we actually, the proposal is that we increase that cost by 3%, similar to all the other cost adjustments we made. That would put our 2025 estimated applicant cost for site plan review at $896.10. If that were the case, on average, there'd be $19.18 more in revenue the township would be taking in than necessary. And if you really look at that, that's not even a couple of percent there. So the one proposal is that the site plan review be increased to $809, and we'll probably just round that off to $896.
And that's what I did when I made the fee schedule, Neil.
Okay. And I haven't seen that fee schedule yet, so, because I know Georgiana was working on the policy manual since there are multiple changes this time. So it'll be,
There's
the
fee
trustees
schedule.
agreeable to this of the $896 for
Yes, we are.
site plan. Okay, and beginning in 2025.
David, are you agreeable?
Yeah, I'm trying, following this, it's currently what, 870?
It's currently, yes, $870.
Much of a change one way or the other.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, we'll actually approve this when we approve the policy manual changes. Okay, there was also, and Georgiana will get into this, in the fees, there was a discussion as far as just increase all the fees by 3%. And David, you had asked to get some comparable fees from the other townships, and I told you that I would get Eaton and Columbia since they're probably the closest to us. So you'll have in your packet, you've got the fee schedule for Eaton Township, Columbia Township, and you've got what our current fee schedule is today. And probably the biggest ones we have that are the biggest costs are going to be for new structures, whether that's residential or commercial. And we've been seeing both of these in the past couple of years, and we certainly anticipate considerably more. For our township, as long as a person comes in ahead of time, for residential, it's 36 cents per square foot with a $68 minimum fee. Obviously, if they begin construction and then are found that, hey, you need a permit to get this done, and it needs to be reviewed, and the location of the structure and whatnot to meet the zoning, you're paying double what those costs are. The commercial cost, the per square foot is identical to residential, but there's a minimum, this is 2024 numbers, of $398. Industrial, again, still 36 cents per square foot in Amherst Township with a minimum of $657.
Neil, on the screen, I've got the new cost next to the
okay.
old cost.
And there you can see she's crossed out the numbers I mentioned you see in red with a 3% increase, and obviously then they're rounded to make it somewhat even. Well, to put that in comparison, Columbia Township for residential, $1 per square foot, so not quite 3 times, but considerably more, much higher than what Amherst Township is. And if it's additions and accessory buildings, it's 50 cents per square foot. So, and the same thing, commercial is $1 per square foot, and whether it's residential or commercial, there's a minimum of $1,000. And then for the industrial, it's $1.50 per square foot, minimum of $1,000. accessory buildings in industrial, dollar per square foot, minimum 300. Considerably higher than Amherst Township. You look at Eaton Township for new homes, $1,000 plus 30 cents per square foot of living space. Then they exclude any attached garage, but they add the garage back in as an accessory building if it's attached, just at a lower rate. But though their per square foot is less than Amherst Township, when you start out at $1,000 and plus, and it's not per footprint, it's per living space. So you have a colonial, and let's say you got 1,200 square feet on the lower floor, another 1,200 square feet on the upper floor, you're paying at 2,400 square feet. So these are the two townships closest to experiencing what we're experiencing in terms of growth. And just on those areas we see the most of is they're significantly higher than it is in Amherst Township. As far as fencing, interesting, Columbia Township doesn't show anything for fences. But maybe they're making it up with additions and accessory buildings and new homes. Eaton Township has residential is $30. I think ours was $36, non-residential $150, so those are pretty much comparable. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll just mention pools being the last one because we have a variable one depending upon the size of the pool with a minimum of $66. Eaton Township does just a base $40. Columbia Township distinguishes between whether it's in ground or above ground. If it's above ground, it's $50. If it's in ground, it's 50 cents per square foot. So again, if you go through the numbers, they're going to be significantly higher than our township. Whereas Eaton Township is actually lower than what it is here in Amherst Township. So with that, without going through every single one, because not everybody has the same things within their zoning and their meetings, I'll just go to one final one I did want to mention. Special meetings like site plan reviews. We charge one site plan review, but we ask that a person come in with a preliminary plan and meet with the zoning commission, the fire prevention officer, make their contacts with whoever the utility providers are, and we know we've got 4 different water providers, whether they're sanitary sewers that are going to be in there. Then if it's electric, if it's going to be public or private, since we've got both, and then obviously if there's gas lines in the area, we ask that they do all that. Let's discuss a preliminary plan. Then they bring their final plan, but we only charge once. If you look here for Eaton Township, they actually charge for the preliminary plan, then they charge again for the final site plan review. So their preliminary is $250 to come in. Then for the final site plan is $1,500. So again, comparing these things, I think that our fees are pretty reasonable. And I'm not going to go through the cemetery fees. Again, they're close, but theirs tend to be higher. We do charge time and a half if it's on a holiday, since we've got to pay our employees on time and a half, or on the weekend. I think it was Columbia, they set a fee, but it's significantly higher, but Saturday, Sunday, or holiday. Eaton Township, you've got to read at your pleasure, is also their cemetery policies there, which are kind of nice. And I think it's that Columbia Township, don't be fooled by their cemetery fees, because they also charge for putting in a foundation for the stone that you put in, whereas ours, it's one fee. So, David, you asked for comparisons, which was probably a good ask. If you go through the other townships, they're all over the place, but these are the two that probably would be the best benchmarks for us to use. So with that, Georgianne, I'm going to turn it over to you on the policy manual and the fees.
try and go through as quick as we can. If your first page is just a review of the organizational meeting and looking at the chapters. So Chapter 1, to make sure that you still are going to have your trustee meeting on the second and fourth Tuesday at 7 p.m.
We are.
We've done the personnel. We've talked about the training and the deferred comp already. No changes there. The facility use, again, no changes at this time. Not this time, but next time we'll get the rules and regulations for the park added to that policy. I didn't get that far this time. The records chapter, to make sure that those costs are still agreeable, with color copies at 17 cents a page, and black and whites are 10%, 10 cents a page after 10 pages. And then if there's any changes, we need to make sure that the policy poster is updated.
Okay, before you go on, Linda, can you check on the lease and the copier, what we pay there for the pages, particularly?
I'll get it from Chris. She's got the last bill, probably from August timeframe, because they bill you yearly.
Yeah, because that's where we originally, for the color copy, which was our more expensive one, and the reason we said the first 10 are free to somebody, because it's more of a hassle to get them to pay, you know, at a dime a piece. It was either, hey, 10 pages usually covers the vast majority of requests people want. Sometimes it comes up right during a meeting, so we just run the copies and hand them to them.
But just to find a document and, you know, run a copy of it is one thing. Find multiple documents and make multiple copies is another. And that involves some time, and that would entail some costs.
It does, but we can't charge for time
No.
to get
Well, we
around
can.
that. If it's big, we have to we contract it out. So then we can charge for it, but we let them know up front approximately what it'll be, and we ask for it prepaid. A good point, Dave. But yeah, sometimes, like we've seen with some of these ones, and usually it's where it's getting illegal, we spend a lot of time and employee costs
You're
just
right.
digging up records.
A simple request, a page or two, it's not worth collecting.
Right.
And we need to write a check for it, or?
Right. Yeah, it's just too much, too cumbersome.
Well, that brings up another question. I know we can't charge for our time. People are requesting requests now electronically and not by paper. So is there any charge for that? No.
There isn't, because again, it's your time, and if it's something you have electronically, how do you have somebody from outside? Usually it's when they want that stuff printed, and it's a lot of it, you
We
know,
just
you can
usually
get a
scan it
printer to
and
give
then-
you a cost.
and mail it.
Okay?
Yep.
Chapter 13 is solid waste, and we just need to review the fall drop-off hours, being from dawn to dusk, October 15th through December 1st, and that we are still having 2 dumpster days for 2025 in April and October.
It still works for you, Kevin?
Yep.
And Linda, you got I don't know if you had a chance to see it,
Yeah,
NOPEC just sent,
$1,500. Yep, I'll put
which
it
will
in.
help offset the cost for one of the dumpster days.
And I'd like to bring shredding up if possible in April with the dumpster days, since we did it last year. Shredding,
Yeah, if you can get it, because I know
get it,
people
yeah.
really liked it. But
that's no
hopefully
cost
the
to us.
county's available for that.
right.
Chapter 15 is mailbox, to review the $75 reimbursement rate of mailbox. Make sure there's no change there. Chapter 16, cemetery, just to verify that there's no changes in elected officials on the deed, and also review the $750 maximum cost for indigents. No change there.
And there is, I don't know if it's gone through, they were trying to get some funds at the state level to help with indigent burials, but fortunately that's not a real common occurrence, but it does happen.
And Appendix A we'll get to when we talk about the changes for 2025 to the policy manual. That always changes. Appendix B is just more reference for me or whoever takes my job, and for Chris, of things that need taken care of for the next year. Again, Appendix C is a review of the cost, the fee schedule that we've pretty much gone over. And pretty much everything else on this page is just here for reference and things that need taken care of in the future.
And competitive bidding, I did have, and I put in this one the trustees do have, is
I have one
recommending
also.
to put it at $18,000, which is still significantly lower than the different various sections, the ORC, whether it's roads, equipment, or fire apparatus. But we just found it's more an informal process. Most of the burden falls on Kevin to try and shake down 3 estimates, but it's not publicly bid, but he keeps that quiet, gets 3, and then we choose which one's there. And as we found out the last couple of years, he's had even trouble getting people to respond to give 3 estimates, which, you know, has held up some of the grant applications when we sometimes need this for grant work. But we're just proposing to increase it from $17,000 to $18,000 because obviously there's a cost in Kevin getting people out to site and meeting with them and showing them what the expectation is before they can give an estimate.
Ready? The next page is a summary of changes to the policy manual. There are a few this time, and then followed by the actual pages with the changes on them. You all have a copy of that. Table of contents always gets updated. In Chapter 3 in the Personnel Policy, Section 3.09 for the Auditor of State Fraud Reporting System, that was totally rewritten. I used the bulletin, the state bulletin 2024-005, and kind of massaged it into our policy. If there's anything on there that needs fixed later on, we can always fix it, but we had to get something different in there since that changed. And then, of course, the acknowledgement of receipt form changed, and that reflects what's on the auditor's website now. Chapter 10, Records Retention and Destruction Protocol. For the Township Fiscal Officer, we added credit card receipts, and actually that got changed. It no longer says 2 years, it says 2 years / pending audit. And the pages are correct, just the front page isn't. Under zoning inspector, they changed the retention time from 5 years provided no action pending to permanent for 2 documents for the applications for variance and for change request or request for zoning change. In the cemetery policy, Juneteenth was added to the list of holidays. Transient, Chapter 23, transient vendor policy is a whole new policy that got added in, and you should all have a copy of that policy in your packet. Appendix A is the meeting compensation and competitive bid. The meeting compensation went from 44 to 45, and the competitive bid went from 17,000 to 18,000. And then the last page is the Appendix C with the fee schedule that we've already reviewed. And those are all the changes.
Okay, are there any questions on that?
No question.
Thanks, Georgiana. I know you were working on this right up to this meeting.
We have to approve the changes.
Yep. So I'll make a motion to accept the policy manual as amended, and the fiscal officer shall send a copy of the personnel policy with vacation/sick time conversion plan to OPERS for annual approval if required. And then it's the addendum, and you've got those copies from Georgianne. And I know, Chris, they may not require it because I think that's been the case, but there was a time they did. So that'll be my motion.
Where are we at here?
GG, David.
Gotcha. What number are we on?
I'll second that motion.
1227.
1227.
Lynch?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint the fiscal officer as the personal information designee.
Second.
Okay. Second by Denny.
Lynch?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
And before we move on, just keep in mind, Linda, as you're looking at that credit card thing, this is one of these points of this personal information.
What is that last motion?
28.
28. I have it correct.
Okay, I'll make a motion to authorize the fiscal officer to make supplemental appropriation wire transfers as needed in 2024 and provide and
In
execute...
2025.
No, 2024, and to provide and execute all necessary documents effective December 17, 2024 through December 31st, 2024 for the year-end close activity, including but not limited to transfers, advances, repayments, appropriations, wire transfers, requisitions, travel, bills, payroll-related transactions and payments, and all other necessary and urgent documents as needed with reservation.
So move. Or second.
All right.
Lynch?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
That was 29.
Yes, sir.
And Linda, I didn't talk with you ahead of time, but I wasn't sure if there was any, and we don't have to have something here, but just we try to do that annual review on the rental properties, see if costs have gone up and what's happened here.
Because the mortgage is paid, correct? Yeah. So there's no reason to increase it.
Okay, and we won't see the property tax increase, which is only on a portion, till next year. Okay. And that's when we may have to make an adjustment.
And I've not heard whether or not they're staying or leaving after their lease. It's up in February.
Okay,
So if they leave, then we may want to revisit the cost.
okay. Okay, 2025 is the OTA Winter Conference attendees. This is to authorize Township Administrator, Township Zoning Inspector, and Township Administrative Assistants and Media Technology Operators to attend the OTA Winter Conference and to pay any travel, hotel, and meal expenses associated with the conference.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes. That was 30.
Yes,
That's
sir.
30. Okay, is there any other business?
Okay. Bring forward at this time.
Okay. Our next regular meeting will now be Tuesday, January 14, 2025 at 7 o'clock p.m. There's no special meeting there. We probably won't need one, but Chris, if anything really comes up, don't force, we'll get 2 trustees here for an emergency meeting if necessary. Okay? So we don't have any audience. If Kevin and Linda, do you have anything more? All right. Then I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So move. Or second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.